TO Blaze.
Hey there, this is Theo bringing you another Kerbal Space Program video. In this video I'm going to be keeping it closer to Kerbin by designing and flying a simple plane. So for that I'm going to take you into the space plane hangar. For me, planes can be a fun break from the usual grind of space travel, at least in career mode, which is what I play on. They're cheaper, they're simple, they have their own challenges, but like I said, it is a good break every now and then. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to make a small plane that's easy to fly. So for that, we just need a Mark 1 cockpit. Let's see. Typically like to put in a control wheel, which may or may not be cheating, because obviously normal planes won't have control wheels. I don't know if I need a battery if I put in a source for power. Because sometimes I'll leave my planes out for a while, wherever they get to where they're going, and I don't want to turn out of power. If I put a probe core, which in this case I guess it won't be, so we can leave that off. I'll tell you what, we'll leave the reaction wheel off too, just for the sake of realism. I will put on a little structural tube just to give me some length. I'll also put on a liquid fuel fuselage. You don't need a lot of fuel for planes on Kerbin. You also don't need any oxidizer, as we'll put on an air intake, and it'll take air from the atmosphere, obviously. And the Panther afterburner engine's pretty basic, easy to use engine. So next, let's start adding some control surfaces. Let's see. I'm going to start with my wings. Right. Looks like that, and snapped with demoted. Okay, well, let me put that up for now. I might not even need the smaller wing piece, but I like to give them a little unique shape to my wings, so they're not just a plain front surface. Let's see. Okay. I was doing all that work without my symmetry on. So let me put my symmetry back on. Alright, that looks good. And I also like to use canards when I make planes in Kerbal Space Program. You don't see canards on a lot of real planes in real life, and I believe it's because it makes them slightly unstable, especially in the event of a stall. But they do create lift in the front of the plane, helps you get your nose off the ground, which in KSP is pretty important. You don't want to stay on the runway very long. Find at higher speeds, Jeeps, vehicles, planes, they all get pretty squirrely on the ground. So the sooner you can get in the air, better off you are. Now let's put some ailerons. Let's see. These can be tricky to snap. See, I'm almost grabbing the top surface of the wing. It's putting it on the edge for me. And then lastly, a couple winglets on the top is all you need. Those are going to be those. Yeah, I kind of like that. Put a pair of winglets. Try it back. Oh, maybe a little sharper angle. That'll do. Alright, and then last, piece de resistance. Need some wheels. And one in the front. I'll just use the small wheels. And you want to drag the back ones down a hair to be more in line with the front wheel. You could also drag the front wheel up a hair. It'll disappear into the fuselage, but no big deal, at least it'll be more in line. You also need to take a quick look, make sure your back wheels are behind the center of gravity, which mine are well behind it, which could be a problem. Move all my wheels forward a little. Okay. That's about as basic as I'll get. Looks like it'll be fun to fly. Again, because of the canard in the front, at least in Kerbal Space Program, it should behave really well. Be very responsive. And importantly, leave the runway quickly. So I'll let you view the takeoff because that's pretty important, but I'll probably speed up the flight to keep this video nice and short. When you start off on the runway, your brakes are not on, so if your loading screen is long like this, make sure you don't leave your computer and walk away, because when you come back, your plane's going to have rolled off the back of the runway. So I'm not going to apply the brakes because we're just going to take off. And I forgot my air intake, so let me slap that on real quick. Reverse the vehicle assembly. You should always have a checklist, at least in the back of your mind. Easy to forget one or two little important details. In this case, air intakes. That engine's not going to take oxygen on its own. So for that, I'll slap a couple air intakes on the side. Make sure they're not interfering with the door so my Kerbal and I can get in and out of the plane. I'll also probably angle them a little. Maybe not that much. So to give my plane a pretty cool look. I wonder if I could snap. Nope, didn't want to do that. I wonder if I could snap these to the air intakes. Yes, I can. That's cool. Turn my snapback off. Tuck those in just a hair. That's cool. Alright, let's take two. Alright, let's go ahead and throttle up. SAS on. Now we're moving. Because of these canards, again, I should take off. Should be able to leave the runway at about 50 to 60 meters per second, which is pretty slow. That's going to make landing a whole lot easier. I feel like these are pretty nimble designs. I'll go ahead and speed up time now. Alright, so I'm headed to the Island Air Base. The island is a great place for beginners because it's so close to the Space Center, and yet it still presents a little bit of a challenge to land on. I've been there multiple times and I've left some equipment behind, which I'm going to show you as soon as we touch down on the ground. Alright, coming in for my final approach as best I can. I'm not too great at flying these. Also just using the normal keyboard controls. Don't know that a joystick would be any easier, but I'll try to land this thing in one try. Let's see if I can manage it. Again, the low speed that I'm able to take off and land with the canards is a plus. The faster you're going, the squirrelier and the more difficult it is to control. Alright, hit my brakes because I need to get as slow as possible and kill my engine. See if this thing's going to slow down. There we go. Touchdown. Well, that does it for the plane build and flight demo. Hope you got an idea of how planes work in Kerbal Space Program. I think they're challenging to fly, but building one that is nimble and responsive definitely helps with that. Well, once you get the hang of flying, it's fun to start experimenting with different payloads and missions For instance, I built a big cargo plane that I used to get this Jeep onto the island, along with some other science equipment. Helicopters are pretty great too for cargo because they can obviously land more accurately. You can put things exactly where you need them. This science lab that you're seeing was actually airdropped from a large rocket, though. Couldn't get the plane to drop it exactly where I wanted it. Took me several attempts to get that science lab to land. Well, as always, I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, please hit that like button or leave a comment. For free to submit an idea if you want to see me attempt something. As always, I appreciate you tuning in, and I'll see you next time.